Hi friends, it's Kara. Welcome back to Really Famous. You know how sometimes I invite a guest on the show, and as we get into it, it starts to feel like we're on some kind of a roller coaster ride? Ups, downs, random and sudden turns into places you'd never thought you'd go? Well, today I bring you one of those talks. My guest is Anthony LaPaglia, an actor who you may know from his role in the TV crime drama Without a Trace. He played Jack Malone in 160 episodes. You may remember Anthony from Frasier. He played Simon Moon, one of Daphne's brothers. Or maybe you saw him in A View from the Bridge, the Broadway play, or any of the other 100 plus film and television shows that he's been in. My personal favorite is Betsy's Wedding, an Alan Alda film that we talk about during today's chat. Oh, and there's also 29th Street, a little known movie that Danny Aiello once told me was his absolute favorite movie that he did. And he was in some pretty good ones. Anthony, who's from Australia, by the way, which may surprise you as you start to hear him talking, because I'm pretty sure that in most things he has an American accent. In fact, I'm kind of surprised at so many actors who do that so seamlessly, and like you don't even know that they're not American until you find out later, and then you hear them talking, and it's like, how do they do that? Okay, so if you have heard of the new series on Netflix called Florida Man, that's Anthony's latest project. It's about a guy from Florida, but not exactly Florida Man, if you know what I mean. So we talk about the show, and Anthony tells us what he really thinks about it. Suffice it to say, this isn't just one of those promo plugs where an actor says the same boring thing to every media outlet about their new project that they're trying to promote. Trust me. So that's part of our little roller coaster ride. Not really a big part of it, but whatever. On this ride, I feel like you'll see two sides of Anthony. At least that's how I saw it when I was face to face with him. I found myself using my therapist brain to analyze what was going on here. I won't tell you more than that. I think it's better if you experience it in your own way. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about it after you listen. So please find me on social media and comment on the posts that I share about Anthony and me and our talk. Links to my social media accounts are in today's description. And I'd like to let you in on a few other fun background notes. Note 1, we filmed today's show at Soundbox LA recording studio in Los Angeles. Tim and Michelle have always been there for me when I book an interview in LA and I need a professional place to tape it. Lots of times I go to my guests' homes and that's great, but sometimes I need a studio. And this studio to me feels like I'm going to a friend's house, so I love it. Tim and Michelle hosted me when I had Andy Richter on the show a few months ago, and they hosted me with Jason Ritter. And those are two good interviews. So maybe there's a little something in the air at Soundbox. I put a link to the studio in the notes so you can book your own session if you'd like. Okay, note number 2 is that Tim has a fun sequin pillow on the couch. That's basically a photo of Nicolas Cage. It's fun, and everyone who visits the studio seems to love it, including Anthony LaPaglia. In fact, Anthony liked it so much that he keeps referring to it as if it's the actual Nicolas Cage, the guy. You'll see. And he tends to tap the pillow as he talks. So if you hear odd tapping sounds throughout today's show, that's what it is. Okay, and the third and final note is that this is a long talk. I wasn't sure if I should cut it down into 2 parts or maybe edit some of it out, but Tim and Michelle both thought I should just give you the whole thing because they were pretty rapt the entire time as they listened in, and they thought you would be too. So it's a longer one than usual, but it's certainly not as if you'll be listening to like one thing for a really long time. It's a ride. All right, and I think that just about does it. And let's go to a word from our sponsors. This week's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know how I feel about therapy. I am a therapist, and I've talked about it many times on the show. Therapy can be a life changer. If you're not feeling great, you know you need a little help, but you're not sure where to go. Where do you even find a therapist? Try BetterHelp. BetterHelp will match you up with a therapist. You can do a video chat. You can do a phone session. You can even text your therapist. And if it doesn't feel like the right match, BetterHelp will find a new therapist for you. Get started now. Simply go to betterhelp.com/reallyfamous. Get started today and make sure you use that link, betterhelp.com/reallyfamous, because you'll get 10% off your first month just for Really Famous listeners. That's betterhelp.com/reallyfamous. Okay, and we're back. Anthony LaPaglia. Let's go.
I'll have Nick Cage.
That works.
I'll have Nick Cage at my lap the whole
good.
time.
Let's leave it like that. I like it.
I've got Nick Cage at my lap.
Should we take a little picture of you with Nick Cage next to you?
It's okay.
You comfy? You good?
Perfect.
All right, good. So
Wish they were all like this.
Really? What are they all like normally?
They're all different. That's like everybody's new job now, podcasting.
And so how does it
feel?
feel?
So many of them. They're all pretty good. They're better than the old days. It's better than the old journalism. We'd sit in a room and then they'd just come in one after the other and pump you. And it was, at the end of the day, you wanted to kill yourself. At least with this, you come in for a conversation with people.
Yeah.
That's nice. And it's because it's long form. It's not everything has to get done in 4 minutes. So they can be more interesting that way.
I'm sure.
If you've got more than 4 minutes in you.
That's right. Sometimes people want me, like publicists, try to have their client in the middle of a press day do this interview. And I'm always like, it's not going to work because I'm not a 4-minute soundbite conversation. Like they need to be able to sit on the couch. You need to be able to sit back and have a conversation. That's
a different day job, actually. If you're doing press all day, the last thing you're going to do is 30 or 40 minute long form, because by the end of the day you're done and you're not going to get there early, so you just have to do another day. Publicists just have to get another day. That's exactly right. That's it. Can I take that little nugget and send it to all the publicists? Just get another day. Be my guest. I haven't really, till recently, I haven't had a publicist in a decade. Actually, you have a great publicist. Yeah, he's fantastic. He's my favorite. He's the only reason that I'm doing it. Really? Yep. Why? Because I hated it. I really hated doing press. And I really hated. I don't particularly enjoy talking about myself. So unless I have like a specific objective, and I'm mandated to do it by the studio or the Netflix or whoever it is, I'd probably rather not do it. But he's really, first he's funny. He's got a good sense of humor. He gets me. Oh, and he's not pushover either. He knows when to bounce back if I give him a really hard time. So he doesn't take it personally. Well, he is the best also from my side to deal with. He's great. He's great. So you picked well. Yeah, well, I didn't pick him. One of my managers did. Oh, okay. So you must have a good manager. I do. Then. I've been with the same guys for like 35 years. Long time. So you stick with people a long time. Long time. So what is that? Why do you think that? What do you owe that to? Well, I just changed agents this year for the first time in 25 years. Only because the agency got absorbed again by another big agency, and I just felt like that's not where I wanted to be. It's just like they're like harvesting actors and directors and music people, and they're just collecting them all. They go into the big collective and the big hopper, and so I still, even if it's not that way anymore, I would like the illusion of it being personal still, and it's not that personal anymore. So even for somebody like you who's so well established, it's not that personal because they're too busy? No, it's just the business isn't that way anymore. People don't take the time out. I mean, I personally think everything is shifting. We're in the middle of a big shift. And it's the whole idea of being, I feel this way in acting. I don't know about directing. I can't speak for people in other fields in here. But acting seems to is becoming more irrelevant. Because if you have any kind of profile now, you're an actor or you're a performer, whether it's like Like I watch podcasts. I'm like addicted to them. But not because I love them either. I love to hate them. So I get on there and I just will watch 5 hours straight of all these jerks doing podcasts. And it's mainly the guys who are jerks.
So you hate watch
The
them.
women seem to be really quite good, and the men are fucking horrible. They're all child boys, and they like these bitching and moaning about their shit. It's like there's no men on there. It's just these like fanboy. I don't know what the fuck they are, but it's like
They're man children.
yeah, and they're the way like this whole YouTube thing has like it's just reframed everything, and the way they see themselves is really fantastic to me because they see themselves as genuine. I was like listening to this one guy today. I don't know, maybe he was like 30 or something, 31, and he's talking about he just starred in a movie, and I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, went from podcast to starring in a movie. That's cool. And he's got like I don't know, like a little tiny bit in a. No, it wasn't that. The other guy had a tiny bit in a movie. This guy just did his own long form little spoofy movie, but he was talking about it the way you would talk about it if you're like an actor who had like 30 years of straps on him. And I just thought, wow, they really see themselves that way. Good. I know I don't want to get in the way of that, but that's to me, that's a whole other business. And I do object a little bit to them, to somebody coming in. It's like I feel like I put in, I don't know, 35 years. When I was on stage for 8 years, it wasn't. I feel like that they and I know they work hard. I know that it's not easy to become relevant in podcasts or on YouTube in particular. You have to work. So I don't, whatever success they want to have, it's great. But I know that they don't see it. And if they don't see it, I think the business is not seeing it either. I don't think they distinguish anymore. And I look at some of the casting, I'll hear about some piece of casting and I'll go, who the fuck is that? I never heard. Oh yeah, he's famous from he's an influencer. I'm like, what the fuck is an influencer? I'm an influencer. I influence my wife every day. It's like.
But they're not in that many roles, are they? Like, what is an influencer?
Maybe it's just the ones I'm watching. I don't know.
Huh.
But they.
Because maybe they get gigs of some kind, but I can't see them replacing.
No.
Tried and true actors.
See, I get sucked in because they're talking about, I was starring in this thing, and and I think, and they're talking about it like it's a big legit movie. And I realized when partway through the conversation, they're talking about the sketch they just did.
Oh, right.
But to them, that's like a full-blown production, and it is. It's not easy work. Still takes. It doesn't matter how bad it is or how kind of like amateur it is. It takes what it takes to shoot it. So.
Okay, I'm cracking up though that you actually hate watch podcasts for hours.
I do.
Because it gives you pleasure to hate it.
No, because I see some good stuff as well.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, of course.
Like, what's the good stuff?
I love Mr. Beast. I like him. Not the content so much. It's a bit young for me. But I like what he does with it. Like, I kind of like... I just watched a couple of episodes where he flew around the world and, like, literally flew around the world. And he was going to give surgery to 1,000 people that needed ear surgery so they could hear. And literally flew around the world and did 1,000 people. They took them to these very different clinics in the different countries. And while they were doing that, just pick out the odd rando person and chuck 10 grand in his lap. Here's 10 grand. Here's a car. And it's just so kind of like, it's not even for, it's real philanthropy. It's like really, that's the philanthropy of a very rich dude, but not just rich in money, but rich in spirit. And so he's probably the most influential YouTuber at the moment. I think he's number one. And he's just not really that interested in him. He's more interested in
other people
putting back into. He just wants to. I think he needs to take a break. He just keeps what's next, and he's been doing it since he was a kid. He's still a kid.
So YouTube, yes, you're all over it.
Yeah.
And that's where you watch the podcast. You don't just listen to the podcast.
No, I don't listen to them. I need a visual. I can't just listen to them.
And do you watch TV?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay. What do you watch?
What have I been watching? YouTube.
You're like Gen Z watching YouTube instead of TV.
Watching YouTube. It's an endless rabbit hole. You just can go down there.
Do you click on like the suggested videos? And stuff?
I look at it. I just go, and I get annoyed if the algorithm's not picking up what I like, because I know the algorithm's everything, but my algorithm is shit, because they know what I like and they keep feeding me shit. That's
because you keep watching. You keep watching it. So this guy likes this.
Some of it's really good. I like I like the angry guys. I like the angry displaced guys. They make me laugh. They're just super angry about nothing, but they're usually pretty smart.
They're smart rants.
Yeah, they have this one guy. He lives in I can't remember his name now, but he just he goes on these long, like philosophical rants about stuff, and they're actually quite good. You know, it's almost Camus-esque.
Camus-esque.
Yeah.
That's pretty good for a YouTuber. Okay, what about social media? You're on social media, aren't you? Or somebody's doing it?
I don't do anything.
You don't do it?
No.
Somebody's doing it for you?
Yes.
Okay. And then getting back to TV, so are you a drama or a comedy person? Or movies do you like to watch on TV?
On TV, I watch anything that's good. I've been through the whole Netflix catalog probably.
What do you consider good?
Trying to think what I like. Oh, I really liked. What is that? It's an English comedy. I Hate Susie. I Hate Susie.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's so
and
good.
I watch a lot of TV. Really? That's on what?
What's it on?
Netflix.
I Hate Susie.
Oh, what is it about?
It's actually this. It's I wish I could remember her name.
I'll look it up.
Look it up. I want to look it up because. Can you look it up?
I'll look it up.
All right.
It's this woman who was she was a pop star in real life, and she plays this kind of.
I know what
pop
you're
star.
talking about. She's blonde.
Yes.
Yep.
She's fantastic. This woman is amazing in this show. There it is. I just finished I Hate Susie too, and it's just I watch that, and I get more enthused as opposed to the YouTube stuff. I watched her doing that show, and it's so off the cuff and so on the edge. They really do stuff that's you're like, fuck, really? You're doing that?
So do you like Sharon Horgan's things?
Who's that?
Okay, so she did things like Catastrophe. Did you see that? That was with Rob Delaney, and Sharon Horgan is Irish. And she has these great shows that are on the edge, and they're totally different, and they're sharp, and they're smart, and they're funny, and they're sad, and all of it together. Okay, so Catastrophe, I recommend that.
Okay,
but I don't quite have a feel for what you like, because you only gave me one show. So let's see what else you got.
I like documentaries.
Okay.
I just plow through them.
So I don't know if you would like this or not, but I've been pushing this one documentary series lately called Couples Therapy on Showtime.
I tried it.
You don't like it?
No.
Okay, so I wasn't sure.
I just feel like I feel like when people are on camera, they're fundamentally performing, and so I don't feel like that's a truthful. I don't think I'm witnessing. I feel like I'm witnessing a person who goes, "Oh, I'm on camera. I got to do something." So I feel like their performances, they're not performances, but they are driven by being on camera.
Okay, I'm so interested in that. I'm so intrigued by that. You know why? Because to me, that's the worst thing also. I don't like when I sense that people are performing. So if I'll listen to a podcast and there will be a guest and I can tell that they're performing,
right,
I'll be so turned off.
Yeah.
I don't like performing. And that's why sometimes I'll tell people if they're coming on my show, like, this is not about performing. You don't have to entertain anyone. Just hang out with me. That's it. Just like be yourself. But it's funny because that is a sensitive thing for me, whereas it turns me off. But when I watch Couples Therapy, I don't get that sense. And I'm usually so good at picking up inauthenticity.
I think that show really depends on like where you are in your own personal life, how you react to it.
So interesting.
I kind of feel that might have some influence on it.
So are you performing right now?
No, I'm happy.
Oh, come on.
I'm happy in my
Really?
Yep.
Totally. Okay, so you said no. I'm happy in what? What are you happy in?
I'm happy in my personal life. So with my wife, and you know, if it's good with the wife, it's good with the life.
So has it, I mean, is this always how it's been with you and your wife?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Well, we've been together 8 years, so like, of course, there's a few valleys in those hills.
Yeah.
But I'd say overall, it's pretty good.
So you have a good dynamic between the two of you? She gets you?
Yeah, and I get her, because she's a little nutty. She's a little nutty, in a great way. But it's definitely, she marches to a different drum. But I find that highly entertaining also.
How did you meet?
We met. It's a really long story, and it's not that interesting.
It's not?
No.
Can you give me the short version?
At a bar.
Oh, all
Does it
right.
get shorter than that?
Who came up to who?
She came up to me.
Did she know who you were?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Like, how does that, did you know? Like, oh, this
She
is
didn't
somebody
hide
who
it.
knows.
She didn't hide it. She also didn't make a big deal out of it either. She just kind of got it out of the way, which was interesting.
So she said, so are you Anthony LaPaglia? You
She
pronounce
knew.
it LaPaglia, right?
Yeah. She knew. She just said, what she said to me was, I studied your films in high school, which right away tells you that there's a bit of an age gap between us.
What are we talking about? How many years?
A few.
Okay.
It's easy to look up.
So you liked it? That she was like, had studied you?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
I found it a little bit. I found it a little. That was a little. Reminded me of my mortality. So no, I didn't like it. Well, we met, and then we didn't actually get together for over a year. We met, and then I had to leave, and then I don't know, life was happening, and I actually didn't talk to her for a year, and then I went back, and we met up again.
Same bar?
No, different one.
So
there
that
was a
sounds,
lot of stuff going on at the time.
that
We
sounds
were
like
both
a
busy. Huh?
coincidence that you would see each other again.
And when I got back, she found out I was in town working, and she had my cell phone number, and she sent me a text. I had no idea who it was, so I text back. And if I get like a random text, like be a bit rough with it. Like, who the fuck is this kind of thing? Because I don't really give out my number much. So if I get like a text that comes in with just a number, and you'd be surprised how many you get, especially on WhatsApp.
Yeah, I just ignore them and delete them.
Oh no! Sometimes I engage just because of pure interest. Because I know the whole spiel. The whole spiel. It's like this whole thing that happens. It's some woman who's like a professional Asian woman who's when I say professional, I mean she's got a profession, like she's in medical school, according to them, in medical school or blah 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 or whatever. And they have this whole spiel that they put down, one after the other, exactly the same.
On WhatsApp. Just random
Asian women.
How do so many people have your WhatsApp number in that way?
have
That
no
it's the
idea.
same thing. You
I
must
have
have got
no-
put on a list of some kind.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, the whole thing is that these things, we basically gave up any privacy that we wanted. And even with this thing off, I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's true. There's nothing you could do now. And I have a pretty small footprint. Like, I try to actively not be present on the net or on the web. But every time I buy something on Amazon, or my information's all there,
They know.
and the hackers it's so easy for them. None of these systems are secure. None of them. So,
Yeah.
and it's all like, when you think about the amount of energy that the spammers, the scammers, the Bitcoin, all these things take electricity and power, and they have to set up these huge computer banks to run everything, and it chews up 4 or 5 times as much as a city. Like the amount of energy. So when they're getting worried about AI and all that stuff, it's like, don't just pull the plug out. It's going to be fine. They can't operate on their own, not yet.
So do you feel like life was better the way it used to be before all the technology?
No,
You don't.
no.
So you wouldn't trade it.
I wouldn't look. I have the luxury of retrospect, and it is a luxury. And I enjoyed how empty and quiet it was when I was growing up, because it was.
Yeah.
It was just nothing.
Yeah.
You could hear static in the air. There was, and things were slower. Like I felt bad for my daughter. Well, my daughter's 20 now, and when she was growing up, it was colliding with the iPhone. So by the time she was 9 or 10, all the kids in her school were getting iPhones, and I was the only horrible father that was saying no.
Same.
Yeah, and she finally got one at 12 or 13 because I couldn't hold out anymore. The pressure was too much. But I felt bad for her because I got at least to jump the bridge. I know what it was like back then.
Mm-hmm.
I came through the really ugly part of it, which was car phones that looked like real phones in your house, and mobile phones were the size of a brick.
Yeah.
And I'm an early adopter. So as soon as that stuff came in, I was the first guy to have a beeper. I was the first guy to have a shitty Motorola phone.
Mm-hmm.
I was a shitty guy. I had every phone that came out. I tried it, every single one. I think I had a Newton.
What is a Newton? Well, why don't
That
I
was
know what
Apple's.
that is?
That was Apple's shot at a smartphone, but it wasn't. It was just like this thing that you could write. It was like a mini computer that looked like a phone, like a Palm Pilot.
Oh, right, the Palm Pilots.
Palm Pilot. I had several Palm Pilots.
Uh-huh. And you had a BlackBerry, of
But
course.
several of them.
Right.
I loved the BlackBerry.
Because
I
it had
missed
the keys.
Oh man, I used to pound it out on that.
So I have a 20-year-old also, and we held out until he was 13. Well, I have an older daughter also, and a
okay.
younger son. But we were like, 13 is the number, and they insisted that they were the only kids in their entire grade.
I promise you they were. Because I know that my daughter, at her school, all the other parents just laid down.
Yes.
And they just handed over the phone.
They did.
Your life, when they get that phone, your life changes. Not just their life. Your life changes. But all she knows is growing up around computers and online. That's her social community. And it's no different than my social community, other than they're stuck together like that with the phone,
It's a different deal. Plus, she was in the middle of the whole COVID thing, right? Was she what was she doing in the last few years?
She just went to, she did her first year of college last year. COVID.
She's local?
She was at home.
She was at home.
Here in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, they stopped school. She was probably with her mother for a bit, and then she was with me. Yeah, she had a really shitty last year of high school.
Yeah.
You know what?
Because she graduated in 2020 then, right?
I blocked it out.
Yeah.
I blocked out the whole...
Yeah, forget
COVID.
it. Let's not even talk about COVID.
Blocked out the whole COVID. No, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, we're good.
Right, Nick? Right.
So, for the listener who's not actually watching us, Nick is Nicolas Cage.
Pillow of Nick Cage.
Yeah, there's a pillow here at Soundbox LA Studios, and it's Nicolas Cage.
I have Nick on my lap.
It's literally his picture.
Yeah.
In like, what do you call these things? Sequins or something?
Yeah, these are sequins.
Right.
That's actually pretty nice.
It's pretty cool, right?
Pretty loud, yeah.
In fact, we were just talking about his cousin, Talia Shire. No, not his cousin, his aunt.
Oh, yeah. Rocky.
Because she's been on the show a couple of times.
Yeah.
And we did a little update recently at her house, and they have an interesting family. Nick Cage, Talia Shire, Francis Ford Coppola, Sophia Coppola. Oh my God.
And what's his name?
Jason Schwartzman, her son.
Jason Schwartzman. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
I like him a lot. Yeah, they have definitely the dynasty of creative talent.
Yeah. So who do you hang out with here? Who are your friends? Like entertainment people? So you pointed to Jorge.
Jorge, he's my buddy. Yeah.
And you do road biking. Is that what it's called?
Used to, yeah.
Okay.
Used to do motorcycle track.
Okay.
Used to do track days.
All right.
Go
And
race motorbikes around the track.
what else do you do?
Just hang out,
And watch
drink,
YouTube.
talk. He's a supplier of my mezcal. Usually I'm working.
Okay.
So this is the longest.
You do work a lot, and you
I do.
do a lot of different things.
I do.
So should we plug Florida Man a bit? No, you don't want to talk about it?
No, you could talk about it. I don't need to plug it.
Yeah. Okay, that's good because I don't like plugging, but I do like to talk about it a little
Okay.
bit. So let's just talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
I had fun on it. I had fun. I enjoyed doing it.
Has
I
a
had
great
fun on
name,
it.
also, by the way. Title. Florida Man is a great show title
It is a great show title. The show doesn't live up to the title, I don't think.
because you know what Florida Man is.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't really. It doesn't. It's
No.
not Florida Man in that sense.
No, and it could have been, and probably should have been. But, look, here's the problem with doing any kind of series. Unless you give the person who is the creative the right to go and run with it, once you start getting a whole ton of voices in there, when they're cutting it, when it's all shot, when they're in there editing and stuff, you get a whole ton of voices in there, then you get just this kind of nice soup, but it doesn't have a shape. And that's what having too many voices in does to any project. It was disappointing because I really liked working on it. I really liked working with Edgar. That was fun.
Edgar's pretty cool.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he seems
Really
it.
sweetest, nicest man.
So it was fun to work on.
Yeah, fun
You
to work.
liked him.
All the actors were great. I liked working on it. I liked the writer, showrunner, Don.
But it got watered down, did it?
I don't think anybody would disagree with that. I don't think it reached its full potential, unfortunately. But you know what? That's what happens. So you just, you got to move on to the next thing.
I guess the beauty of it is there are so many other projects, and you're not somebody who just works, one and done. So you can just go on to the next thing and the next thing, and it's already.
It's with COVID and stuff, threw a wrench in the hammers because not just COVID, but also with the writer's strike that was coming up. That kind of threw a bit of a wrench in the works. I just wish these guys would get together. I wish the producers would stop trying to chisel everybody to death. Just give them the money and let's get on with it. Everybody can make money out of this. There's plenty of money for everyone, and to say otherwise is disingenuous. If you look at the profit margins that these different Netflix stars, Prime, you look at their profit margins in that division, they're high. So there's money to go around. They just don't want to split it with anyone. And especially they want to shit on the writers. And because the writers, just like the actors, don't really have a union anymore. They successfully have busted that. So we got vestiges of a union left. Compared to what I came into, there are vestiges of it. It was much stronger when I first started.
So what do you do when you're not working? Is it hard for you when there's
No.
nothing in production?
No, it's not hard for me at all. I actually don't do much. I just I watch a lot of TV. I read. I'm going to do a play
Oh, another one?
in Australia. Yeah.
Oh, in Australia. Okay.
And I've been reading that and
What is that?
Arthur Miller.
Oh,
Yeah.
which one?
I don't want to say. I don't want to say it. Anyway, I'm working on it at the moment,
Okay.
and going to do it in Australia.
Okay. Will you go back to New York at some point?
No,
Okay. Why not?
I do go back because my daughter goes to school there, so I go to visit her. But to do a play there, financially, it's difficult, and the commitment is too long. This is only 5-week rehearsal, 2 months performance. So I can deal with that. It's the 6 month deal that you have to
Yeah,
make
that's a lot.
to go. Even off Broadway, they want a fairly substantial. Well, off Broadway, they might want a lower commitment, but the money is, you can't even do it.
Right.
Nobody can do a play for $400 a week.
Right.
Not my age.
Especially not in New York.
No, not in New York. And I could crash at my daughter's place when I pay for it. So.
What about, so would you go, all right, so let's talk about, would you want to go back to a show like Without a Trace, that kind of criminal procedural kind of thing, where it's the same thing over and over?
No.
No. Are you glad you did it though at the time?
Yeah, very glad I did it.
So you felt good. You feel good about it.
Yeah, it is. Another, again, it's not too complicated. It was what it was, and it had a really great fan base. They kept it alive for 7 years. We consistently stayed in the top 10 for 7 years, and that's not easy to do. And that's only because people enjoyed watching the show. So we had a good, loyal fan base, which was great.
Yeah.
This was the first series I'd ever done for longer than a year. I didn't think it was going to go.
Oh, you thought it was not gonna?
No.
What? Because you're not an optimist, or because you didn't think it had the goods?
I didn't think it had the goods, to be honest. I thought, I saw the pilot when they did it, and I thought, I'm out. And because I was very unsure going into it. And once I said yes, I kind of had buyer's remorse.
You did.
Yeah, because I was, at that time, I wasn't tied down to anything. And I knew I was going to shoot in LA, so I'd have to leave New York, which I didn't want to do at the time. But I'm glad I did now. Mm-hmm. I don't really miss New York anymore.
Yeah.
No. I've come to really like LA.
I'm in the process of relocating out here. I'm based there and I come out.
Where do you live there?
I live in New Jersey, in the burbs.
Where in Jersey?
Do you know Jersey?
A little bit.
Bergen County?
A friend of mine was an actor. I used to hang out with him all the time.
Where?
Bobby Pastorelli. You probably don't know. Some people listening or watching will know who he was. He was a great actor, but we used to go to Paterson, New Jersey.
Oh, Paterson.
Where his family was, and we got tattoos. I got my first tattoo in Paterson, New Jersey, with Bobby.
That's so random. What's the tattoo?
Oh, it's good. It's all gone now. It's like it got covered up with other stuff.
So you've had tattoos removed?
No.
Oh, it's covered up with other stuff.
Yeah, it was a shitty tattoo. Well, I went with Bobby because Bobby was getting a wolf howling at the moon on his chest. So he said, "You come. I got a guy in Paterson, New Jersey. He's great. Come on, we'll go." I'm like, all right. So I go and I'm just hanging out with him, and he's laying on the chair getting and it looks like it doesn't hurt because he's just laying there talking to me. Blah, blah. He's getting this big wolf on the moon on his chest, and he says to me, "Hey, you want a tattoo?" I'm like, "I don't know." "Yeah, come on, get one." So he's like, "Oh, all right." He said, "Get a little one. Come on, get a little one." So he said, "Pick one out over there." So I go over to this board, and it's got like all these different things on it. And I pick out the worst tattoo ever. It was like a dagger with a heart, and then like a sword through it or something. It was sort of very cheesy. And then I started getting the tattoo, and I suddenly realized how painful it was to get them. And he knew that I would like start sweating. And the pain would be not that much fun. And he got me to do it because he just wanted to see that. And he started laughing. Anyway, he was a good guy. Okay. And that was fun. Anyway, so I got that tattoo, and then I thought, I got to get this covered up with a better tattoo because this is terrible. So then I got another tattoo that was bigger, and then I just kept going.
So it's all up and down your arm. Anything else? Any other spot?
Backs.
Oh, okay.
Up and down here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any other regrets of tattoos?
No, I don't regret them either.
None of them.
No, I was always tough.
So they were better ideas, better decisions on which ones to get after that.
They're better. They're better tattoos.
Okay.
They're still not the best tattoos, but they're pretty good. And but it was a bit confronting so I never minded them. People around me didn't like them. People around me at the time didn't like them.
Like who? A family?
My ex-wife didn't like them, and my friends didn't like them, and all that. But
So what did you learn from your first marriage? Was it your first?
Kind of.
Ish. What did you learn from your first ish marriage? So your second marriage, more
The first one doesn't
accurate?
really count. That was really short. That was like
When was
a
that?
couple months.
Oh, a couple of months. So you were super young at that point?
I was 25, 26.
Okay. So that came out. So for a second, would you learn, maybe you didn't learn anything from the first.
No, because I wasn't in it long enough to learn
Mm-hmm.
anything. What I learned from the first one. That if you don't, you can check out sometimes in a relationship. I think, in my case, certainly, you can check out in a relationship, and your partner can also check out in their own way, or not notice that you've checked out. That can happen too. And if you don't touch base every now and then, and just check in with the other person, really check in with them. Not just superficially check in with them, but really check in and ask them how their heart's doing, and how they're doing. Then the longer that gap goes in that kind of communication, the more likely it is that you're going to listen. In any long relationship, it does evolve and morph into something else other than what it was in the beginning. That's normal. But it just depends on what it was to start with, what the foundations were like to start with, and what you allow it to turn into. And it requires that you, if you want it to work, it requires that you check in before it's the other person has checked out, or you've checked out so far you can't really get back in. And that happens over. That relationship was like 13 years, which is a good chunk of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it may be better in this one.
What may be better, that you're checking in more?
Yeah, we've been together 8 years.
Uh-huh.
Now, my current wife, as I call her, wife number 3. And yeah, we're a lot more, it's a lot better in that respect.
So how did you learn that about the checking? And is that like hindsight that you saw that later?
Yeah.
After the marriage was over?
Yeah, I would definitely take responsibility for the first one was just nuts. So it doesn't even really count.
Yeah, not that one. But you learned it after the marriage was over? You thought about it?
No, I left. So, it gets complicated, but it got messy, and then we tried to work on it. But by then, by the time, and also like if something's going bad in a relationship, you either get out or address it and get out, or address it and work on it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sit in the middle, just waiting for it to collapse around you.
Yeah.
Which is what people do.
Yeah, it doesn't go away.
I did, yeah, for sure. And I could do it because I was working. I was working really long hours at work. I'd work, 13 hours a day. And I could easily check out.
So when you were working at what at that point? On what?
I was during that marriage, I was doing Without a Trace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of.
So I'm doing Death of a Salesman. It was just weird that I didn't tell you. Yeah.
Okay, Death of a Salesman.
Death of a Salesman, and with a director named Neil Armfield, who's one of the best directors I've ever worked with. I've worked with him before.
Okay.
He's probably one of the best theatre directors in Australia. And I always wanted to do, because I did View from the Bridge on Broadway, and I was really lucky I got to work with Arthur. And I'd always wanted to do this play, and I was waiting until I got old enough. And the good news and the bad news is I got old enough. So that's what I've been watching a lot the last week or so. There's 3 different productions that are on film. It's probably 4, but I've been watching 3 of them. Just to see if I can add to it, not make it make it its own thing. It's pretty daunting. I haven't been on stage for 10 years. 10 years.
So what's scary about that? Not scary. I
Oh.
put a word in your mouth when I said scary, but what's daunting about it?
No, you're right. I mean, it's scary.
Okay.
That's right. I mean, it's. I'm scared to death, and but at the same time, I have this feeling of relief that I'm going to go back and do it. I started to explain. I'm scared to death of doing it, but that lets me know that it's something worth doing.
Yes.
Because if I wasn't scared of it, then it wasn't worth doing.
Absolutely. I feel like fear is often a sign
It's not
that
fear.
you're doing okay, scary,
fear.
whatever, dread, maybe it's not dread.
It's
What did you
just-
say? What was the word you used again?
Daunting.
Daunting.
Yeah, it's like a huge thing that comes on top of you, and it's like, can I even get past this? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I haven't been confronted with that for a long time.
So you're alive and you're doing something relevant again to you. Something you're taking something on. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. So those are good feelings.
Yeah, but I haven't gotten to the. But I also know the different phases that, like rehearsal. I know what the first week of rehearsal is like. I know what the second week of rehearsal is like. I know that you get to the fourth and the fifth week and you're not fucking ready, and you're just like you go into this space where you just think, I'm like, I don't know. I have this thing every time I do theater. I'm the last person to get off book. It drives everybody crazy. But it's not because I don't know the lines. It's because I just, like, if I give up the script, then I have to commit to something I'm not ready to commit to yet. So I have the script in my hand and working off it. But people want to get into it. Like, I know people are off book, like, 2 days into rehearsal. And God bless them. I'm glad they can do it. But it takes me a while to figure out where I'm going, what I'm doing. Not just the physical stuff. The physical stuff is one thing, but also like the emotional path. And I'm like an old Italian. I like to lay those roads down nice and tight before I put the car on it and start driving. So I'll probably be the last person off book again, which stresses everybody out. But I don't want to stress them out. So
Then they need to know at the beginning.
I'm already having these conversations.
Yeah.
Well, I tell them. Here's the thing.
If that's your method.
Every single time I go into one, and I've done it ever since I started doing theater, because I realized pretty quickly that was my MO. And I would say to the director and everyone, listen, I'm probably going to be the last one off book, and it's going to be a bit frustrating. And they go, yeah, it's okay. They don't realize how long I'm
So like the night before.
No, it's not like that. The last one was a bit like that. But no, it's not like that. It's by week 1.5, everybody wants to do everything. They want to like start doing their like character shit and all that stuff. And I'm just like, nah, you go ahead, do it. I just like I gotta kind of bumble through this, like a bit like Peter Falk and Columbo when I'm trying to work it out.
And look, he comes in at the end with the thing. That's his
Well,
process.
So far,
it works.
So far, it's worked out that way. But there's going to be a day when that doesn't happen. And I'm not ready. Came close last time. The night before.
It was the night before.
The night before opening. I was doing a play, and my friend was directing it, Stanley Tucci, and it was on Broadway, and it was a farce, and I'd never done a farce. So I was having a really hard time. I was taking it in a literal way. And in a farce, you can't. You just got to say the lines and open the door. Door, lines, door, lines, door, lines. It's like, and if you don't open the door for the right time for the right person, none of it works. So I was still trying to play it. Like, I was trying to act it. And you can't act it. You just got to think it, do it. Think it, do it. Think it, do it. And I just could not wrap my head around that. I was having such a hard time. And Stanley was very patient. He was like, how you doing with the doors?
So Stanley, have you watched his show, his Searching for Italy show?
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah,
I love it. Talk about documentary.
Stanley's just doing on film what he's been doing his whole life.
It's fantastic.
Whenever you go to Stanley's house, he's like, there's always a great red and a great meal coming up. And so as long as I've known him 30-something years.
Oh, that's pretty good.
A long time.
So he's one of the people you hang out with.
Yeah. I don't really hang out with a lot of actors. Some. Some of the actors I hang out with are dead.
Or what? Dead?
Dead.
Like who?
They just passed away. And there are
a lot of good dead actors, I'm just saying. There are a lot of good dead actors. That's why I'm asking you who they are.
No, I don't want to say.
Okay, you don't have to.
No, it's like...
But there are a lot of good ones that I feel like are icons, and we lost them, but they did,
and recently, and it's like...
But they still live on with us because we think about them. They impacted us.
Yeah, I do think about some of the people who are gone. I mean, listen, some of the people who are gone from my life are living. Just
okay, you have to tell me about that. Who are we talking about?
Dead to me anyway.
Friend.
I'm not going to say.
You don't have to say names, but tell me the story.
Yeah, I mean, the people that I hung out with 20. Here's what's interesting about when you break up in when your marriage breaks up.
Okay, so we are bringing it back to the marriage because you did an interesting segue where you flipped from marriage to
turn right back into it.
Death of a salesman.
There's this interesting thing that happens.
Don't think I missed that.
I know you didn't. Nick didn't miss it either. So, it plays Elvis or Dracula all the time. It does it really well. So,
we were talking about friends.
Yeah. So when your relationship or marriage ends, then you don't realize the division of everything. It's not just property and labor; it's your friends also. So my situation became kind of interesting because definitely I guess if you have to have a black hat and a white hat, I'll definitely the black hat. In that I left the marriage after considerable time in it. And her, like the male friends that I had, they weren't allowed to hang out with me because their wives were like, "You're not hanging out with him. He's dating a much younger woman." And they didn't like that. And
so it wasn't that they were friends with her, the wives.
some of them were not.
Oh, okay. But they just didn't like the age difference.
But they took a position.
Right, because they didn't want it to rub off on their husbands.
Everybody feels like, for anybody listening that's going through this, that like is a friend to someone who's going through it, you don't have to take a position. Mm-hmm. You can be friends with both people if you want. It's up to you. But I just feel the people that took a position, yeah, it was okay. They had to do.
Were you surprised at who took a position?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. A lot of people took position. There was a lot of positioning on this, but in another sense, I also understand that every 8 years or 9 years, you go through a bit of a sea change in your life. I'm 64 now, so what I thought at 25 is completely different than what I thought at 30, what I thought at 35, what I thought at 40. What I thought at 45, and now at 65 is completely different. I have different priorities.
Yeah.
I have different friends. Mm-hmm. Some of them make it through, and some of them don't. And I'm okay with it because I think that that's just kind of like the evolution of your life.
I feel like I wonder if it would be hard to make new friends at this stage for you because of just how famous you are.
No.
But you
it's more how weird I am. So
how weird are you?
I don't know. Listen, getting me here today wasn't easy.
Wait, tell me about that.
I don't leave the house.
Ever?
Not much.
Well, I hear you were busy all day and all week doing things.
Yeah, at home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how did I get you out of the house?
A publicist.
Yay, Craig.
Because he gave it the thumbs up. I was going to bail on it. To be honest,
Love the honesty.
I was going to bail on it.
Today,
for sure.
were you going to bail
Oh,
on
yeah.
it? Like today you decided?
Before I got here, an hour before.
What did he say?
Nothing. He just kind of like, he just he makes it okay.
Why were you going to bail?
I just didn't want to do it.
Because.
I just didn't want to do it.
So you don't like to talk about yourself, or you just don't like to get out of the house?
Both. I both. Yeah.
You were going to say something.
No. I just I don't know. I'm just going. I just guess I'm going through a period of like. I'm quite. I don't know. I don't know if there's that much room in my life for like new friends. Some friends are making a comeback. There's some older friends that have been gone for a while, and some of them are making a little comeback. But even then, it's like I'm quite happy in my own company.
In your own world. Do you live alone? Oh no, you have your wife, right?
But my wife's she's younger, so she could.
She's out and about doing things.
Yeah, but she's just gone. She's gone to Greece with her mom and her sister. So and a 9-month-old baby that her sister had. So that traveling show is not for me.
Okay, but so here's the thing. When you say you like to be by yourself in your own company at home, like that doesn't sound like weird to me. And you said weird, that you're weird.
I really like. I'm talking about. I will not leave the house for like a week.
Yeah, I don't think that's so.
And I won't speak to anyone except for him, maybe.
I don't think that's so
Okay,
unusual.
maybe as you get older, that's what you want.
Yeah.
I was always that way, even as a young kid.
In Australia.
Yeah, like I'm not comfortable socially.
So I wouldn't guess that from you right now because you seem.
I've become a seasoned trooper.
You're a trooper.
And when I have to do it,
so you are performing.
I can do it. Huh? Well, no, I'm just deciding to talk to you. That's not really performing. I didn't have to learn anything.
How does it feel?
Okay.
Is it painful?
No, you make it fairly easy.
Okay. Fairly easy.
Yeah. Pretty easy.
So you don't talk to people on the phone or anything like that?
No, I never talk to
You're
anyone
just
on the phone.
ever.
My daughter, I talk to on the phone.
Okay.
That's it. I text. If you want to talk to me, you have to text me. If you have a texting podcast, I could do that. Great.
Got to do some texting.
Yeah,
We have to do a
texting,
special texting thing.
I love a bit of texting. My favorite thing.
Are you good at typing the letters in without messing them up?
Uh-huh.
Do you read your text before you send them to make sure they don't look or sound weird?
No.
Do people ever come back and say, "What are you talking about?"
Yep, all the time. I like the randomness of that.
So how do you keep your friends if you never go out and you will only text? What's the trick? Why do people stick with you?
Well, I text them on the phone. I have some pretty good texting friendships. And I've got a friend that I've worked with recently, the DP. He's back in town, and we've been texting each other for days. We'll get together soon.
Are you an emotional person?
It can be. Depends. Are you?
Yeah, it can be. It depends.
What's your background?
Meaning what specifically?
What's your family heritage?
Oh, so my dad's side is European Jewish.
Uh-huh.
I feel Italian.
What generation?
Like when did they come here?
Yeah.
They came. My dad's grandmother came through Ellis Island.
Also, way back.
Yeah, I do know the year, but I
You're
forget.
like 19?
Well, I can tell you this. My grandfather was
1915?
born in 1900, and he had a lot of brothers and sisters. And
He was born where?
here in New York,
Born in 1900.
born in 1900.
Oh, so they came even earlier than that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they came over. She had a lot
Have
of
you
kids.
been to Ellis Island?
Yeah,
Have you
I
looked
have.
up-
Yeah,
Do you have the? Yeah, me too.
of course.
My grandfather came through Ellis Island as well.
Okay. From
Italy,
what part?
Calabria. Pavlina.
Yeah. See, so I feel Italian like in my bones.
You look Italian.
I know, and I feel it.
Yeah.
So I have the story in my head where there's got to be somebody who had an affair with somebody somewhere. Because
Have you had your DNA
yeah,
done?
I did. This is why I know that 50% or like 51% for my dad, European Jewish. He's 100%.
Yeah,
and
I'm like 28% Jewish.
Okay, so then my mom's side
I didn't
is Irish and British, Norwegian.
No.
So it's an interesting mix.
I'm just very Italian, and then there's a big chunk of Jewish. Is it Ashkenazi or?
Ashkenazi Jew?
Yeah,
Yeah. So from where do you know?
I'm not entirely sure.
So that's me too.
Yeah.
That's from like the so there's Sephardic Jews are from Spain generally.
Yeah.
So but Ashkenazi is more like Germany and
Yeah,
Italy too.
It wasn't Germany. It was closer to Italy.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, they were all like raping and plundering, like all through the, through the golden age of Greece and the Roman Empire. It's like who knows where you came from? It goes back just so far.
But I can tell you when I step foot on the soil of Italy, I'm like, this is home, and these are my people.
Me too. I still do. I was
It's
just there.
visceral.
I was just there
Where?
in Bavlina.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved it. I'd never been before.
Yeah.
But not to Bavlina.
So do you spend time there a lot, like with family, or do you just visit?
I was actually working there.
Oh, working.
Yeah, and but I would like to go back because I went back to the village where my father grew up, where he was born, and the whole town came out in force to meet me.
That is so cool.
It was great.
That's amazing. And Italians
Great.
come out with the
And
passion.
they remembered, some of them. There's a couple of older women that remember my dad. But he left there when he was like 15. Yeah, 15.
So
16.
your dad is the one who moved the family over here.
He didn't move though. His family moved here without him. His mother died when he was really young, like 5, and then his 2 brothers and sister moved, and he didn't. And he went to visit them, and then he got my mother pregnant, and so.
And your mother's not Italian, though?
No, she's Dutch.
So where did they meet? Where was this?
Uh,
Just somewhere she was like passing through Italy or something, or she lived there?
No, they met in Australia.
Oh, okay. So he was traveling to Australia?
Mhm.
Right, because you have an Italian family, but they met in Australia, which is why you were raised in Australia.
That's right.
It's interesting.
But it's just that's the only reason my father stayed. Because back in that time, if you knock someone up, you had to marry them.
So how did that impact you, do you think? That's how you got your start?
Doesn't really. I think what happens after is more impactful. I think I think it like changed the course of my father's life, and not in a good way. And it changed the course of my mother's life, and not in a good way. And I think that they would have been both better off with different people. I think they thought it too. And although they managed to stay together for a long time.
They did.
Oh yeah, they just plugged it out. Look, that was that generation.
Right.
You just slugged it out. You
did
didn't go, I don't like this, I'm going to leave now.
Right.
You
None of that.
You slugged it out. And they slugged it out until my father dropped dead. So I think that, I think that their circumstance which was their circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, look, we're in such a kind of culture right now where everything has to be like, I'm not even going to say the word because I'm so sick of hearing it, the W word. And everybody's supposed to be so on board and all together and include, and get the right phraseology and address everybody in the right, in the right terms. I don't care about any of that stuff. And I think back then, you didn't have all that information. And you didn't have all those tools to work with. I'm not saying my parents weren't smart. They weren't bombarded with like, you should do this, you do that, you should do this, you should do that. It wasn't that.
Mm-hmm. It
It was like, this is the circumstance you're in. Now fucking we like two wrestlers in a corner. Now go work it out. You know?
Yeah. So you got some of that grit.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, so that the impact was much more after, like, you know, as a result of that, I think my father was not a happy guy ever. And my mother, I don't think, was particularly happy either. So when you grow up with that, again, you're not equipped with the box of tools to understand. I grew up my dad was a mechanic. My mother was a secretary, and they had that box of tools, so they didn't have access to information, to help groups, to therapy, to none of that stuff. So they stumbled through this stuff the best they could, which in a way, it opened me up to this. I got to build on top of that. By the time I grew up, by the time I was 30, I put myself in therapy because I understood that like wasn't all working there. Still not all working there, but I understood that there was stuff that I needed to deal with so that I didn't dish it out on other people. And you still do, you know, like
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you ever really solve the puzzle that is you,
Yeah.
ever. So, and sometimes it's not a hard puzzle. You just not too bright. You can't work yourself out. But because of that experience and me going through that experience with them, it got me to a point where I went, well, I don't have to do it that way. I'm now exposed to other things like, you know, a therapist in New York. Fantastic. And I still go.
Excellent.
Yeah. I still go. I still go for a tune-up.
That's good.
Yeah.
So when you right, so you can identify. So now you've already thought about this, about how growing up like that with your parents, not necessarily that happy,
Right.
impacted you.
Yeah. It actually helped me, I think. It helped me make decisions about, even if it was negative on their side, it showed me what I didn't want. And that's just as important as knowing what you do want.
Right. Because you could have repeated what they.
A lot of people do.
Right. So it is that you almost have that.
But I think that it was to such a kind of energy and to a degree that I realized at some point, even though my toolbox wasn't, I didn't have all the tools to deal with a lot of emotional stuff, but I knew that I was missing some, and that the tools were out there if I wanted to go out there and get them. And that's something they didn't have. They didn't even have that access to that.
Yeah, they didn't have that advantage.
No. You got in a marriage that wasn't great. Tough luck. You Catholic, you work it out.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they grew up in. So you know they you know, and I brought my baggage into
Right.
my
Of course.
stuff.
But see, that's what goes on in that couples therapy doc I'm telling you about.
I
Is
tried
that
to watch it.
what happens is.
But I feel like it's not happening enough.
No, I get, but here's what the therapist finds is she finds the things from their childhood that are playing out in their relationships today,
Right.
which is fascinating because that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And if you don't realize that it's your childhood stuff that's having an impact here,
'cause
it's
you're
hard
not-
to get past it.
Although it's hard for me to believe. It's hard for me to kind of. Isn't it weird? Even though I went through it, I have less empathy for somebody who's 35 and not getting it in this day and age, because I draw the comparison to what you have available to you now, and the fact that you don't take advantage of that. Like even me growing up, I didn't have advantage to all the tools that are there now. You think going to therapy in my 30s was like people thought it was okay? No. It was still something that was like, there's something
Questionable.
wrong with you.
Yeah,
You know?
but not today so much.
No.
Thankfully.
Now everybody's lining up to go
Right, exactly.
because they realize. But you know, it's just like. So I just think, you know, like we're kind of an interesting time right now. you've got all these people that are demanding to be seen and heard and da-da-da. And yes, you have every right to do that. But you also have to, like, understand that not everybody has your toolbox either. And that just because somebody doesn't address you in the right way, maybe they just don't know.
Yes, and also it's usually about them than it is about
You know,
you.
it always is. Like, I love my daughter. She's fantastic. But, like, I get that, like, justice outrage kind of stuff from her, and it makes me laugh. Like, I just laugh and I'll just keep making the same mistake with her on purpose because I know I know it bugs her.
So tell me one of the best tools that you got from your therapist.
Well, I was going to say take space for yourself, but that's not true because I already knew how to do that. Sometimes you have to withdraw yourself from a situation. By remaining in it, you're not making it better. You're not solving anything, and you're not clarifying anything. Your presence, sometimes it's just your presence, but sometimes your energy, your anger, whatever, is dictating the situation. So knowing when to walk out of something and take a breath for 10 minutes or a half an hour, or an afternoon, whatever you need, is this knowing when to walk away is the best thing I learned. Is realizing that I'm the problem right now. In this particular moment, in this relationship, I am the problem, and I need to extricate myself from this moment so that you don't get upset and so that I can recalibrate.
Yeah, that's pretty good. To be able to identify it in yourself.
Huh?
To be able to identify
Just take
it
a
in
breath.
yourself.
Just take a breath. Like, breathe for a minute. So let the crazies just die down let the crazies in your head just die down.
And what do you still feel like you're working on that you need to?
Everything all the time. Everything all the time. It's nothing specific.
Uh-huh.
It's that's between me and my therapist.
Yeah. All right.
I got a new one at the moment.
Why? Why new?
I was just, my other one I had for many years, but she got sick. So
Oh, okay.
that's what happens when you turn 64.
That's hard though.
I had her since I was 30.
That is tough.
Yeah.
How was that transition for you?
It's making me laugh because the guy I'm with now, he doesn't know what the hell's going on. Because I let it rip when I'm in there.
So he doesn't know your history? Like you didn't give him, hey, this is my stuff?
This is like, I think I had my third session with him, like last week. By the end of that, he was just like, he was ushering me to the door. You got to go now. I need therapy. But I just like, there's some things that need to be straightened out. I think he was really understanding some things. So,
Like what? What confused him?
the nature of me and my relationship with me, just some things. So I can't talk about them, that's therapy stuff. But he needed some straightening out. And I think as I kept telling him stories, his eyes kept getting bigger. I think he thought this was going to be a little domestic play, a little kitchen table play.
Kitchen table play?
Yeah, that's what we call that's what you call a drama. If you're doing a play, they say, what kind of play are you doing? Kitchen table drama.
What does that mean?
That just means it's like a nice, quiet, domestic despair play. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just.
So he didn't realize that there's a whole.
He didn't realize that there was
the
a
individual
whole,
behind everything.
there was a whole packet of crazy that needed to be
Okay.
unboxed before we started. So the more crazy came out, I could see his eyes.
How did you find him?
Phone book.
No, really?
Yeah, I
Just
think so.
phone book. Is there even a phone book
He's
anymore?
within walking distance. That was a major thing.
Oh, I don't think there's a phone book anymore. Is there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah. I know.
the phone book. This.
Right.
See the bridging
Your
of
phone.
two generations of technology, phone book and iPhone.
Right, because your daughter probably has no idea what a phone book is.
Not a clue. When I tell her stuff about like what I had to do as a kid, she would say stuff to me like, I remember when she was younger anyway, she would say stuff. She's great. I mean, having a 20-year-old is amazing. She's such a the whole relationship changes. We have it was always pretty good, but now it's kind of like two contemporaries. We talk about stuff and I really admire her. She's turned into a very kind of very cool kid.
That's cool. It is nice too. I like it too. I like this age.
Yeah.
It's good to have.
Yeah. The conversations are
right?
Yeah, they're more interesting. But look, they're also fraught with stuff that I'm like, come on.
Yeah, but so were you at 20.
I wasn't having those thoughts.
Yeah, they were different, but you still had your own.
No, mine were like very basic, move forward kind of thoughts. I didn't have any real critical thoughts until I was about 30. I got through the first 30 years without doing any critical thinking at all.
So what did you pass down to her? What parts of you?
I think, what do you reckon, Jorge? What do you think? I don't know, from the outside, it would be better from...
She thinks a lot. She reads a lot.
She's a thinker.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you're a thinker.
Yeah. I'm not saying they're brilliant thoughts.
Question, that's fine. But when you're home alone by yourself, which is your preferred thing, are you always busying yourself, or because you're a thinker, do you like to sometimes stare out into space?
No, I spend endless hours on the couch.
But my question is, do you ever just stare into space thinking?
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. I do that too.
The TV's always on in the background.
Oh, okay.
I'm not focused on it.
I can do it without a TV, just quiet, just stare into space and think.
I just love I love television. I just do.
I see too.
And so I like having it on 24/7.
You do. But you'll just ignore it and you'll think about it.
Yeah, I'm not paying attention to this stuff on the screen most of the time. But I like, there's a whole package unwrapped there.
Wait, where?
Just saying that I like the TV on the background. I kind of like the comfort of it.
Well, I think that's a loneliness thing or a companionship thing. That's a big
it's more of a. I don't know. I like the way the light bounces off the room when it's dark. The TV's constantly changing. I kind of like that. It's like a bit of my own light show.
Oh, so it's like art?
No, it's not like art at all. It's just like my own little light show. In my head, that's what it is.
But are you lonely ever, or are you not lonely ever? Right, because you prefer to be by yourself.
I do.
So it's interesting to me that you also prefer to have the TV on. But you're saying it's really strictly for the visual of it.
I don't really, unless something's very, very kind of captivating. Most of the time when it's on, on the phone, texting the couple of friends I have left, and sorry, I'm just checking.
You're a very interesting human.
Thank you.
But not because I'm like, who is this person?
No.
But I think there's a lot of interesting. You are a thinker, and I know sometimes you change the subject or lighten it up with a joke if you don't want to talk about something specifically.
It's very good. So sometimes you just got to deflect, then think about it, and then circle back around to it. You always have to close it up though at the end. You don't want to leave people with that idea that you try to avoid something.
So you do. So it stays in your mind, and then you come back to close it up.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's hard. I think it'd be hard. I don't know. With everything that's going on in our culture right now, I think it's really hard not to think. We look at all the challenges that are coming up. Living here, the politics, the whole AI thing, which is overblown. Here's why it's overblown. Because in order to make that stuff work, I don't think anybody realizes how much power it takes to have all those banks of computers going to even operate the database for AI, for cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency has drained so much just raw energy on a daily basis from our society. It just chews up like 3 times as much energy as LA will chew up. That stuff requires massive amounts of computing power just for crypto, which is shit, right? So, and for everybody that got into it, you deserve what you're getting right now. I knew it was shit then, and it's shit now. But only the crooks made money out of it. It's like the best Ponzi scheme in the world, this whole crypto thing. That's why I watched YouTube as well, a lot. because I love to hate these YouTubers.
All right,
But-
so you know what's interesting? I have to give you a little feedback as you're talking about this
Yeah.
stuff. So I notice you also like to talk about these topics.
I do.
You have a lot to say about them.
I
So, but you don't talk to people a lot.
No.
So who do you talk to?
don't.
You don't talk about these things with people.
No. But I think about them. I find, here's the thing, I'll be honest about YouTube. I find if I want a real kind of finger on the pulse of what's really going on in our society right now, YouTube weirdly is the right place to look. Because it's a different generation, and they're talking about the stuff that means something to them. It might not mean anything to me, but it gives me an idea where stuff is kind of headed, at the least. It gives me an understanding of what people's mind space is. And so I think about like all that stuff. I'm not judging it. I might not like some of the content, but I'm not judging it. I'm just looking at it going, oh, I get why that. Because there's be things that happen and I try to brush them off. You know, they're just kids. Fuck it. They'll learn. You know, wait till they're 40. Jesus, if you think it's bad now, wait till you're 50. You know, wait till you're 60 and people start writing you off. It's like, you wait till that shit happens. You don't even know. I hear 30-year-olds talking about, you know, my brilliant career, or you know, my tough life. And it's like, strap in, Junior. You don't even know what's coming.
What was the toughest moment for you in life?
Toughest moment in my life? There's no one single
Toughest
moment.
time.
Toughest time? Some stuff when I was young. I think watching my daughter go through our divorce. She was a really smart kid. You know, she said to me when I told her that I was going to do it. She was about 12, 13. And she said, oh, I knew it. You know, you could have done it right now when I was 12 and I didn't. And I didn't really know about it. And she said, you could have done it when I was 8 and I didn't know about it. Or you could have done it when I was like 18 and I didn't give a shit about it. But you're doing it right now when I'm 12, 13. The worst time for me. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she got that from you. Very analytical.
Yeah. But I was like a 12-year-old telling me that. It was like, fuck, that's true.
Yeah.
But honestly,
That,
I've been putting it off for you.
Yeah.
I was ready to go when you were 1.
But she knew anyway.
Yeah, she knew.
So she was
knew.
mentally
She
preparing
knew.
herself in some way.
I think it was pretty obvious. You know, it was pretty dysfunctional.
Best time?
Oh. I think, like I recently just had an amazing time going through the south of Italy, shooting this documentary I was doing. And that was kind of amazing. I really enjoyed that. Last time I went to see my daughter in New York. It depends. It depends on. I have good times all the time.
Regrets?
Nah.
None.
Waste of time.
Waste of time.
They are.
Because?
If it really meant that much to you, and you're regretting it and fretting over it now, don't do it in the first place, or fix it. But carrying around a bag of gravel and doing the mea culpa doesn't do anybody any good. You just make yourself a victim, and it's like I really don't live in the past. So when you ask me best time, I could go back to my 20s and pick out something. I go back to my 30s and pick out something. I go back to like different points of my career where it's great, but I really don't live there. I just think you got to keep moving forward all the time. I don't live in the future either, because that's too uncertain. My wife really lives in the future. What's going to happen?
Oh, yeah. So that's anxiety.
Yeah. Of course it's anxiety. And I know it's anxiety. That she knows it's anxiety, but she lives there.
Yeah.
She lives
It's
on
tough to live
anxiety
there.
lane.
It's tough to live there.
Oh, it's a really
Yeah.
hard place to live. It doesn't matter what I say either, because I'm not living on that street with her. You know, I could be, supportive and all that stuff. Try to be. And then, so really what kind of, I don't know, what I deal with is what's happening right now. I don't see any point in doing, I'll have a couple of hours where something will happen and it will affect me, and then I'll let myself have that couple of hours. But I'm not going to stay there. It's
Yeah, I
not
think
produ-
you can learn
it's
from
not,
it.
It's not productive.
Yeah. I mean, unless you learn from it, right? Not to stay too
And
long, but you to reflect.
how long does it take? When you get, what I find is that, like, as you get older, the learning curve should become faster. And so, like, these things that happen to you, there's only a set of circumstances. Like, you basically, by the time you get to a certain point in life, you have a set of circumstances that are going to happen, and the result's going to be A, B, or C. That's it. And variations on them. You'll have A1, A2, A3. You'll have variations on those themes, but there's a certain kind of pattern in your life.
Predictability a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm totally predictable. So you'll see that. And there's something comforting in that too. There's something comforting in knowing that you kind of know what's coming.
And you know that you've been through all the things and you know how to get through them.
Yes, and that's the other thing is, I have to be patient with my daughter, because her experience is so different from mine, and like, she's grown up with this thing, and
phone.
loves it. It's like she's extension of. If I took that phone away from her, she would wither and die. Like, this is their whole thing. Like, this is how they communicate. I'm not saying it's a bad thing either. I'm just saying that's how they communicate with each other now. That's how, this is the form of socialization. This is where your love life happens. This is where, the journey to your love life happens. My day, it was payphone.
That's right.
It was a
Payphone.
slower journey.
I had a system where I would call my dad for a ride to pick me up at school if I had like practice or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
and I would call collect. And that was the signal, because who wants to spend 20 cents
No, not at all.
on a
I
phone
used to
call?
get, but you could also get a dime, and like if you scuffed it enough, you could put that in as a quarter.
Oh, wow. I did not know that, Jack.
Yeah, I did that in New York.
All right. What's a common misconception about you? What do people get wrong about you?
I don't know what people think of me.
What?
No, I don't.
Really?
No. Yeah, I think it's different for every person, but I don't know what they think.
They don't even think you're like one of the characters you played. They don't think you're
Are you talking about just like someone in the street?
someone in the street, or somebody who maybe.
I don't engage.
Uh-huh.
I'm not. I don't-
So what do you mean if somebody spots you?
Yeah, I don't engage.
What do you do?
Just go.
You don't like acknowledge them at all?
It depends.
Okay.
I'm not rude to anyone, but I'm also not overly friendly. Like,
Got it.
it's just got its place. It's
Unless
like,
it's a nice younger woman coming up in a bar.
well,
One
back,
specific younger
back
woman.
then, yeah. Now
8 years ago.
I've retired.
Right.
I'm old enough to retire.
Okay, so my last question for you is this one.
But you keep slapping Nick in the face.
I guess we can explain to anybody who's listening that if you've heard banging noises, I didn't even notice until now.
I've got a
You're
pillow,
slapping the
I've
pillow,
got
basically,
a pillow that has Nick Cage's face on it, and I'm just slapping it.
regularly.
Something I've wanted to do for quite a while. Snap out of it.
All right. Who is Anthony LaPaglia?
I don't know. I don't know what that question means.
I think you do. So, like,
I don't.
Well, so sometimes I ask it as a two-part question. So first, the first part is, what's the image that people have of you? So somebody who, let's say, I'm just trying to think of somebody like Talia Shire, since we were talking about her before, may say, well, the image people have of me is that I'm a quiet, shy person because that's who Adrian was on Rocky.
And that may be true.
Right.
But I don't see. I don't let people. See, I don't let a fan or somebody even get that close. So, like, I don't know what.
But like, they would have they would presume that you're a certain way before they even meet you. Is what.
Well, then I would
happens.
presume that they thought I was a bit scary.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. I would presume they think that because they were a bit hesitant. But I'm also giving off vibes like, don't fucking come near me.
Right.
So I don't know whether that perception just happened then or that was the perception.
Right. Like, okay, Chaz Palminteri, I remember asking this question too. And that's what he said. People think I am Sonny from A Bronx Tale, like scary. They're scared to meet me.
I don't think... I never find out exactly why they're scared to meet me. And of all the things I've done in my life, professionally and some personal ones, I'm not sure why somebody would be scared of me. So, But they are. They
Maybe
seem
it's
to be.
from Betsy's Wedding.
No.
Okay.
That was such a softball.
That was
Yeah.
Stevie D.
It was a great. I had a great time on that movie. That was great.
That was a fun little movie, and you were really fun in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband and I
That was my first
occasionally
big
say Stevie D. Like, I don't even know why we'll say it.
That was my first big break.
It was.
Yeah. And it was just like, it was one of those things that would never. See, this is my last story I'll tell you.
Okay.
Because I think it's a good story. So, I'm in New York, bartender, doing some off into the theater Broadway shit here and there, going to acting school, and I get a call from my agent, a guy named Brian Reardon, who was a great agent, and he died many years ago now, but probably one of the best agents I ever had. But he died during that whole period when New York was like going through its whole existential crisis about AIDS.
Mm.
And he unfortunately passed away from that. And anyway, he was a great guy. And he was an agent that really, like, I don't know, I haven't had relationships with my agents like that since, I don't think. Him and Sam Cohen. Sam Cohen he was an old school New York agent, head of ICM, and he was amazing. Because we never talked about work. We talked about everything but work. Anyway, Brian called me and said, I just signed with the agency. I hadn't been there that long. And he said, Alan Alda's doing a reading at the Sheraton Hotel. And an actor that was going to do the part dropped out. So I suggested you, and he said, okay. So can you go down to the Sheraton like in an hour? And I had the afternoon off anyway. He said, can you go for an hour? Oh no, I had bartending. I had to throw off my bartending gig that night and give it to someone else. So he said, can you go there this afternoon to the Sheraton Hotel, and this Alan Alda will meet you at in the lobby and get you set up for the reading. I'm like, yeah, sure. It wasn't for a part, just somebody had dropped out. So and he said to me, now this is not for a part. You're not going to get this part. Okay, this is just, there's a gap come up and then you're just going to fill in the gap. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. So I went in and I met Alan, and then I sat there, and everybody and their dog came in. It was like every actor I'd ever known like came through the door, and were doing that reading. And it suddenly dawned on me, wow, this is a big deal. And there were people that weren't even in the movie. They just did the reading.
Because it was Alan Alda.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he
Alan
wrote
Alda.
the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd just come off of like 3 or 4 movies where he had directed, acted in his own movies. And so I went in and I met him, and I met Marty Bregman. And Marty Bregman was probably one of the greatest producers. He was this old school New York guy. He had polio when he was a kid. So he had this leg that wasn't, and he had a cane, and he walked around with the cane, and he was really tough. And he's like, yeah. So I did the reading. He said, oh, thanks for coming in. I'm like, okay, good. So I do the reading, and it goes well. And he and Alan Alda come up to me, and they say, that was great. And Marty says, can you stick around and do the second? We're going to do a second reading. Can you do the second reading? I'm like, sure. So I do the second reading, and it's going well. Get laughs, blah, blah, blah. And it's going really well. And at the end of the reading, Marty and Alan came up to me, and they said, we want you to do this role. I was like, what? Yeah, we want you to do this role. And I went, they said, do you want to do it? I'm like, yeah.
Cool.
And so anyway, I get out of there, and I call my agent, Brian. I go, he said, how'd it go? I said, I think pretty good. He said, they offered me the role. And he went, oh, fucking hate it when they do that shit. I hate it when they promise an actor a role in the room. It's not going your way. They're already talking to 5 other actors to do this role. It's never going to happen. You don't have enough, film credits.
Yeah.
And stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, all right, take it easy. I'm just telling you what they told me. And he's like, all right, I'll talk to them. So anyway, he calls me back and he says, look, they're saying the same thing, but I don't think it's really not going to happen. The studio wants a name, blah, 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 blah. So 2 weeks, I don't hear anything. After 2 weeks, I get a call from my agent, and he's more shocked than me. He's like, you got it. You got this role. And then I heard the story of how Marty and Alan went to the mat for me. They went to the studio. The studio did not want to hire me, and they went to the mat for me and said, he's the guy. We got enough stars. We can have somebody new. This is Marty. We don't need to stack it. So he's like, and I had the most incredible experience on that movie.
That's very cool.
It was so, yeah, because I didn't think it would, look, I had no expectations, but it taught me something, it taught me a lot early on. Is just keep your expectations to yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and try to keep them reasonable. There is a certain criteria for things sometimes. And sometimes you have to like put the yards in. And sometimes you get lucky. But being ready when you're lucky. I was so ready.
Yeah, it's like where preparation
Yeah,
meets
meets
opportunity or whatever
opportunity.
that
It's
is.
totally
Yeah.
that.
Okay, that just reminded me, though, I have to ask you. I read, I think on IMDb, that they wanted you to be Tony Soprano.
No, see, I hate
Is that
story.
false?
I hate this. It's not
You
false.
don't have to. Oh.
It's not false.
Oh.
Okay, so what happened was I got sent the script. It was The Sopranos. This was long before it went. 2 years before it went. And they said, you know, we want you to meet David Chase. So I was in LA and I was doing a movie here and I met him and I liked him. And he wasn't David Chase then. You know, this script had been around for a while. They wanted to get it off the ground and I read it and I loved it. And I said, yeah, I love this. And so I attached myself to it, right? And that was 2 years before it actually got made. So I was still attached to it. You know, and I really liked it. And Les Moonves at CBS had said, we want you to do a series here. We'll do whatever you want. So I put him that script. And I said, I want to do that. And he read it and he said, it's great, but that's not what we do at CBS. We can't do that here. And he was right. He was right. That's not a network show.
No.
So anyway, I stayed attached to it anyway. And time went on. And then I wanted to do View from the Bridge. And I got the opportunity to do it. And just as I was doing it, it came back up again. And I met David Chase again. But in that 2 years, just, I don't know, the tides had moved. And it was really interesting because at the very same time this was happening, I was involved in the casting of View from the Bridge. So it was down to Alison Janney and Edie Falco to play
Carmela?
to play my wife in the play.
Oh, in the play.
Yeah, Edie had come in to audition for the play.
Oh, okay.
So Alison Janney and her had come in, and it was down to those two to play my wife in the play. And at the same time, this was happening, and then I met David Chase again, and it just like the tides had shifted, and I don't know who said it or what said, but it didn't feel like it was something that was really going to happen, and I was going to do the play. So like about 2 weeks into the play opening, so I'd been through 2 weeks of the play opening. I do the play. It was like a matinee, and I go to have dinner across the street, and I walk out, and this bus pulls up, like here, and it's just like Sopranos. It's like the gun on the side of the bus, and I just looked at it and went, "Wow." And I have to say, that was the right thing, because there wasn't anybody else that could have played that part, except Jimmy. There was no one else that would have been as good, or as kind of rich, or as dead on as he was, because he also had that great, as a human, he was a very vulnerable guy. He had that great mixture of, doesn't matter what he did, you know, all that horrible stuff he would do on the show, you forgive him all the time because he just had that. He had a when he performed, and as a human being, he just had a way of if he trusted you or whatever, he had a way of letting you in. He was a very generous guy, really generous guy, and I was really happy when he was doing it. And I feel that way. Like I feel with other, I'm not competitive with other actors or my contemporaries at all. When another actor gets it or gets a job, and even if we're down to the two of us to do it, and there are, like there's just actors that you keep bumping into your whole career.
Mm-hmm.
And you may go up and down, whatever. Some lose hair, some keep hair, some go weight, some get skinny. But you keep bumping up against each other every now and then, right? And whenever a contemporary of mine would get a job, I'd be really happy for him. I never felt like, that was my job, or no, it wasn't.
Yeah, there's enough for all.
Yeah.
It's not a pie.
Nah,
There's a certain amount of slices.
Yeah,
there's plenty.
Yeah.
And it's all good. Everybody
Pizzas can be
wins.
shared with everyone.
Yeah.
So when they went with him, that was fantastic. I was happy for him. I was happy for me because I was doing a play that I really loved, and that play turned out to be a really fantastic thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to circle back now and close this like you would do.
All right.
Ready?
Talk to Nick.
All right.
All right.
I asked you, who is Anthony LaPaglia?
Don't know.
And you said don't know.
Uh-huh.
Can I take a stab at it?
Sure.
All right. I think that just like you were talking about Gandolfini,
Uh-huh.
I think there's a vulnerability to you as well.
Uh-huh.
And I think I think you're analytical and an emotional person who thinks a lot and who's very aware of the world and society, but also the people and the relationships that you have within it.
Uh-huh.
Who isn't sure maybe sometimes if he wants to put all that out there. So he's also has that playful side, not only as a way to protect the vulnerability, but you also have that playful, funny side
Yeah.
that I don't see as weird.
Well,
But that's how I see you.
Well, as a very good friend of mine once said to me, you not only have to be interested, you have to be interesting. When you go to a room, bring both.
And I definitely see that you have both.
Yeah, I am interested.
But I also think that interested is interesting. I think that people like being around people who are interested.
I think, and that's my biggest problem, I think, in terms of like going out into the world now and having friendships. I just find that everybody's fucking exhausting because it's so polarized by, all the key
Everything.
words. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat, blah, blah, blah. Like there's no discourse anymore between people. I don't like refereeing and I don't like being in the middle of it. It's like, if you guys can't be more, if you can't lower the volume on your own shit and be a little more open to what's actually happening, instead of being guided by the big hand from the sky, like just give it up. Like everybody's got such a kind of, they've got such an, I'm trying to look for the moment where it tipped over, where everything tipped over into this kind of, this swimming pool that needs a good cleaning, into this swimming pool of like, this mass of, I'm so worried about what I'm going to say. Well, how will that be perceived? I just feel like that if you're honest and smart, not even smart, just honest, I can't say you're going to get into trouble. You get into trouble when you're hiding something about yourself or what you've done, blah, 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 blah. And the attempts to obfuscate that. I think that's when you get into trouble as a human. But everybody's so fucking concerned about how will I be perceived? What if I said this? Was that a bad thing for me to say? It's not just younger people my age say it. And if you at 60 something, if you don't know how to navigate these waters, you're already lost. You just absolutely have not been paying attention in life.
So you're not going to leave here today and have regrets about this?
Not a single one.
Did you survive this okay?
Yeah.
You got out of the house? Do you
I got out of the
feel
house. Listen,
worse
once I
for wear?
Once I get out, I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's the getting out. part.
Okay. So I'm happy that I got you out today. And I'm
No,
happy
no,
that you indulged me.
No,
Thank you
listen,
for that.
I want to thank you for taking the time. I don't even know what you're doing. What is this podcast?
This is really famous.
Is
I
it?
interview famous people, but I am interested in who they really are. So when I
What's
have
the name of
somebody
your podcast?
really famous,
Oh. See, I don't
This
even
is what I'm explaining.
but I don't even read the stuff. I get the email. I don't
I
even read
know,
it.
but it's
I just get the
really,
text that you're going to show up here at work.
you're leaving with a mug that says really famous, so you're not going to forget.
Okay. So, okay. How long have you been famous?
It's not me who's famous. I interview famous people.
But
But I'm interested in who they really are because,
Do you
as
ever
I
find
told
out?
you, I just did. What are you talking about? You
found
think
out
I don't have a taste of
found
who
out-
you
found
really
out-
are
You found
now?
out a little bit. But 1 hour in a podcast is going to give you
Yeah.
a
Well, we
vague-
did over an hour, so
a
there.
vague.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So I'm not claiming to know all of you, but
No.
I am looking for some glimpse
So
of the essential you.
Where does this play? And then I have a question for you.
Okay.
Why is everybody and his dog doing a podcast? I'm not saying you.
Well, mine is now
You-
6 years old.
Okay, so you were in early. But everybody now is doing one.
Yeah, but I started before that.
Yeah, I know.
So
I'm
I was
not,
a therapist
I'm not diminishing,
first.
I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
diminishing yours.
But I was
What
a
kind of
therapist,
therapist were you?
a psychotherapist. I'm a licensed therapist in New York.
Oh, this explains some of your questions.
Yes.
Okay.
I tried to warn you when you first sat down because
it's
you said
okay.
you were going to lay back, and I said you can lay back because I was a therapist and we could treat it like a session if you really want.
Well, up until then, it was just.
Right.
I was warming into it.
Right.
I was
So
getting familiar with my surroundings, and
now you know.
it's weird to walk into a place. It's not normal.
Yeah.
To walk into a place, and then talk to somebody about you.
Yes.
That's not normal at all. I don't think people. I think we've been. I know that, actors of my generation. We're definitely trained
Right.
into. I actually said to Jorge on the way over here, I actually prefer this because the old way of doing it was I do a project and then I have to go meet the journalist and I sit in a room and they all come in rotating in.
Right.
And you do 5 minutes of
The press
shtick.
junket, like we talked about. Right.
Fucking hate
Right.
them.
No, those are the worst. And I won't do them either.
I hate them. So in a way, I like this long form a bit
Yeah.
better. But you also got more room to hang yourself too. For some people, the 3 minutes is really good. Chaz taught me that.
Really?
Yes. Chaz has got this thing.
Well, Chaz was on my show, so he did a whole
I haven't talked to him
long
for a
one.
while.
And in fact, he and I were going to do a live show in front of an audience as well.
With
and then the
Chaz?
pandemic. Yeah, we had it all scheduled. It was supposed to be, I think, March
Will you
something
tell
of
him,
2020.
tell him I send my love?
I
We've
will
known each
tell
other
him
a
that.
long time.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
All right. I'll do that.
Yep.
So, all right, I think you did a nice thing by doing this, and everybody who's going to watch or listen, it's on YouTube, so you can watch it on YouTube.
I'm not going to watch it, but
Will
okay.
be all right. Well, they will.
I don't watch anything I'm in. So
I believe that.
it's true.
I know it makes sense
I
knowing you a little bit.
Look, I'll watch some of it just to get the drift.
Yeah.
Get the grift of what's going on. But not for. I'll watch it for the other people.
Okay.
If I come on, I walk out of the room. I don't really watch myself.
Yeah.
But
I used to hate. I couldn't listen to my own voice. In fact, when I started the podcast, I was like, "This is crazy. I don't want to hear my voice."
no, I understand that because it's not.
I'm over it now,
remember,
though.
Remember you laid
I
down
don't
your
care.
first answering machine,
Yeah.
and you went, "Fuck, that's me."
Yeah. That's
Right?
crazy.
Yeah.
But now I know my voice, and I don't
You
care.
have a nice voice.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, it's very reassuring. So, and I mean that.
I
Even that was said in
appreciate
a sarcastic way.
Okay.
Um,
Can you do one last thing for me?
huh?
Were you about to say something? Yes, you were.
I was, but it's too
Shoot,
late.
say
It's
it.
gone. Nick told me out of it.
All right. Can you do me a favor and look at the camera
Uh-huh.
and say hi? It's
I'll sit up for this.
okay. Hi, it's Anthony LaPaglia. I just talked to Kara, and then whatever you want to say.
Hi, I'm Anthony LaPaglia. I just talked to Kara, and it was fun.
I feel like you were going to say something else after
I don't
that.
know. It was fun.
Okay.
That's it. Nick and I had a great. Nick Cage and I just talked to Kara. We had a great time.
Okay, so that was Anthony LaPaglia. What did you think? I am all ears. Hit me up on social media with a comment about today's show, please. I'll be looking out for them. What's your take on Anthony? What's your take on our dynamic or anything in particular? Whatever you feel like saying, please share it. Links to my socials are in the show notes, as well as the deal you can get at BetterHelp, a link to Soundbox Studios, and a link to my talks with Danny Aiello. Thank you for hanging out with Anthony LaPaglia and me. I'm Kara, and I'll talk to you very soon.
All right, let's do. We have to take a few pics.
We do?
And then I'll let you go back
We
to your
don't have to
house.
take
We
pics.
must.
Why?
Because I have to. I need them. I have to put it on the. So
No,
I can
you can't
show
post
people
anything.
this is
I'm
what's
like,
coming.
I'm like your sleeper.
You're what?
I'm your sleeper
No,
guest.
you're not my sleeper guest.
Yeah.
Are you really gonna refuse a photo of
One
me?
photo. One.
Like you will have been the first
I hate
person
them. I hate them.
who refused a
I just
photo.
I just talked to you for an hour and a half.
I know,
What do you
but
want from me?
a photo.
Look. Come on. Extract
Blood I don't need.
Extract blood out of
But
it.
do you want? Are you good at this, Jorge? You want to take some shots?
He's really good.
Thank you. We'll take a couple of different
Come
ones.
here. Come here up here.
Come on.
All right.
Let's go.